Wow, what an episode, huh? My goodness.
Damon was a dick.
Could you, Tamar? Oh my goodness. So, nice to see you. How does it feel to be out of the makeup?
Oh my God.
Do you miss the makeup?
No.
No?
That was the hardest part about, and we were so compassionate with each other because you would go to say your line and you're like, what am I thinking? You're covered with blues and pens and this and that. But it's incredible how creative, right? I was watching that and I'm going, like, what were the I can't think of what they were called. The ones that called us solids.
Oh, the founders.
Yeah,
The
they were
founders.
so cool looking.
Yeah, yeah. And Solomon Jens was in Star Trek Next Generation as a progenitor.
Yeah.
Which had a similar design, so it was always interesting to see her come back to Deep Space Nine with that same.
But these
aesthetic.
Creators,
Yeah.
I mean, it was so amazing just sort of being reminded of all that. I remember even being on set and going, what a creative concept, even like Quark, and they were just incredible.
Right. And your character was incredible. I mean, your character impacted so many of the mainstays in the show.
Yeah.
And you were the catalyst for, I think, is the greatest Star Trek villain on television of all time, Gul Dukat's daughter. And to see him go from conniving, scheming villain to madman, all because he lost his daughter. And this, and he blamed him. It was just incredible. So is that why you took the role? Is because you knew that your character would have a lingering effect for not only the fans, but for all the characters in the show?
I actually took the role because I believe she was the ambassador of peace. I really felt that her purpose was to represent peace between all of these different cultures and beliefs and characters, and I found a lot of meaning in that. Even in the audition, I remember when I walked in, and every other woman who was there, and there were a lot of really A-list talent there, and they were in kind of like combat boots and fatigues and army jackets, and I wore a sundress because I felt that there was such a childlike quality to her, and that she was searching for the art and the innocence of life, and that's why I took the character.
It makes sense, and that's exactly what she did.
Yeah,
Such
yeah.
a memorable character and unforgettable, because that's just still to this day.
And two beautiful women played it before myself.
Right.
But I did read something online where there's this concept that there's like 3 different Ziyals, and there's this, like, she died and then came back, and then, did anybody read any of this online or something like that? It was like, oh my God, that's pretty deep.
Yeah. I mean, in the world of constant conspiracy theories, why not have a conspiracy theory?
Why not one for Tora?
Yeah. But I definitely want to talk to you about your book really quick.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Something I shared with you earlier is
Yeah.
I have a similar situation that you did. Your book is called Unfinished Business, and you can get a copy right after this, and you'll sign them as well.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
But I had almost a mirror experience. I watched my greatest caretaker, my grandmother, have a stroke right in front of me, completely collapse, and her life was changed ever since, and she would later pass away, similarly to cancer as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And when I moved, I actually had like a small panic attack, because when I moved into where I live now, same thing happened to somebody else, and I remember the ambulance came and I froze. And I just watched the ambulance stay there. And reading your book and how you basically overcome these unfinished businesses is just fantastic. I'd love for you to talk to folks about opening up and sharing your unfinished business in the book and some of the steps that you take.
I started, my book was released last August, and I left show business to raise my son. There was a series that was offered to me, and I had to make a choice. Do I want to stay, or do I want to be with my child? And I left the business to raise my son. And as time went on, I started to recognize there were certain things that were still living in my body from the past. I'd gone through a stroke and a cardiac with my mother, who then passed away, and my sister was killed in a car crash, and my father died, and my other sister died. And I started to feel what was going on in my energy system, and I wasn't who I used to be. So I started researching the impact of trauma on our bodies, on our lives, on our minds, and I came up with an 8-step program that I've worked with thousands of people on, and I put together this book, and it was published last year. What we're referring to is when I was 11, I found my mother after she had a heart attack and a stroke, and I had to get her to the hospital. And I state in the book, there's nothing that can traumatize you more than trying to save your mother or your caregiver's life, and especially when you're 11, right? So that has been a great achievement of mine, putting that soul work into black and white, right? You know, when you asked me about the character of Tora Ziyal, I think I always say, with all the characters that I played in my career, she was the most meaningful, because her soul's purpose was to help people heal and to love. And I do believe that it aligns with mine. And it's one of the reasons that book, it's interesting talking about the book here, because it's something Tora would have written. Yeah.
I absolutely see that, absolutely. Yeah. Now, I don't know if you guys do, but some exciting news is you're about to release a CD.
Yep, I recorded my first jazz CD with Lady Gaga's band. It was really exciting.
Right.
Yeah.
And those CDs are available as well.
Up front as well. A sneak peek. It's not released for a few months, but yeah, it's mostly original music, and I was blessed to be able to play with this Grammy Award-winning band. They won the Grammy for Tony Bennett and Gaga's album, and it's beautiful. I'm really proud of it, and that's sort of what, as a creator and as a creative and as an artist, I just keep making stuff.
Yeah. And what got you jumping into music? Was it always a passion of yours, or? Well,
it's funny. Years ago, I had a small deal with Sony World, but that was much more pop. And then I started writing commercial jingles. I wrote a lot of stuff for, Mattel and Barbie and Coors and Levi's and Sprint, and I had a knack for it. I was really good at it. And then I had a number of platinum hits out of the country. And I always sang, and this was the first time I just went, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be 62. I'm going to go ahead.
You don't look 62.
Thank you. Why not make a jazz album, right? If that's something I always wanted to do, it's never too late. So that's what I did.
Excellent, excellent. So I'm not going to take up the whole time, even though I could speak with you for hours, especially about your book and the character.
And reach out anytime you need to.
Oh, absolutely, definitely. So I think we have a runner. If not, I'll be the runner. Oh, we do have a runner. Okay, so if you have a question, raise your hand, and we'll have somebody come and bring a mic to you, and you can ask a question about the show, and you can ask specifically about the characters that she forgets the names of. You can ask about the book or the CD. Just raise your hands, don't be shy. There we go, the gentleman in the back.
Way in the back.
Way in the back.
All the way in the back.
All the way in the back. And he's tall, so at least we can see him.
I am very tall.
Yeah.
So since you're the third Ziyal, how was it coming into playing, at this point you didn't really know it was going to be an iconic character, but did you take what they did before, or did they show you the video? Did they this is what we want for her, or did you have your own?
I had no idea. Genuinely, and that was for a reason. As an actor, it's really important that you connect with the story you want to tell. And I was on daytime for many, many years, and I always make a joke. Did anybody ever watch daytime television? Right. And today the part of Emily will be played by, right? Or they kill you off an entirely different looking person, and you have to buy that it's her, But I think that you bring your own soul to your work, your own interpretation to what a character is, and so I never really liked to look back. One of the things that I did know was that my character was meant to be actually a little bit older than the others. Sort of a more mature perspective on Tora Ziyal. So I just went from what the script told me. And then I gave her probably a little bit more of a mature spin on it. That somebody that could have a relationship, right? And with Garrick and could have purpose and was in mission in her life. And so, yeah, it just really came from my interpretation of the writers. Yeah, there's a good question. And by the way, it's something people are curious about. Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so don't let it, somebody give him a better question. Who's next? All right, there we go. In the front, the young miss. You want to stand up?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, Niners, yes. All right.
Death to the opposition, baby.
Yeah.
I guess my question for you would be, Garrick at the end of the episode says, I don't know why she loved me. So I'm wondering if you could speak to, why would someone like Ziyal, who you're saying is an ambassador for peace, love someone as tricksy and as confusing and layered as Garrick and murderous as Garrick?
Let's just think about that for a minute. One of the things Ziyal needed was a dad, right? Remember, she was in a POW camp, right, without a father, and we all know that young women who didn't have dads kind of like dad figures, right? So I do think that she was very taken with the intimacy that she could have with him that she could never have with her father. And they had a lot in common. Yeah, somebody once asked me years ago, why would Lisa Marie Presley marry Michael Jackson? I said, well, Elvis was her dad. Where was she going to go, right? So it's like, right, that was my dad. Where was I going to go? I needed somebody older and mature that had those same kind of instincts, but I needed to find the tenderness in him, and I did. And I did. So.
Great question. Great question.
Yeah, great question.
Anyone else?
One for like Cosmo. That's like a good
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Don't be shy. All right, young miss in the back.
I was just wondering, during your time playing this character on this show, what other characters and actors helped you the most in shaping what you gave to the audience on the screen?
As actors, your job is to get the words into your head and to understand the story. But what acting really is being. And when you're with another person, what you get from one another informs every decision and every move you make. One of the things that made it easy on Deep Space Nine was how generous everybody was. Every actor on that show gave you all of the support you needed. And surprisingly enough, it's not always like that, right? A lot of actors are very tied up in their own work and they're not concerned about what you're doing. Everybody on this show was so generous with everything that just that give and take and constantly understanding the whole storyline with each other, there was so much trust, and that really made it flow. So I would say, everything we showed up on set with, including, by the way, like our costumes were like characters, right? I always used to make a joke about Sex and the City. The city was one of the main characters, right? The costumes are main characters in this show. And so you carry with you, when you think about even my dad, I mean, his veins were always popping out. He always looked mad. And so when you see that, it brings something to your work. You're also remembering you're not human. So you can make any choice you want, right? It doesn't have to be, a person, wouldn't do that, right? You're making up a character that doesn't really exist anywhere in the universe except for here. So all of that really played in, I think, to choices and the honesty of the work. Great question.
Yeah, thank you. So how was it a huge difference with the cast of Deep Space Nine and Seinfeld? I heard a story about Armin Shimmerman not having such a great time on Seinfeld. How would you rate the experience between the two?
I had a wonderful time on Seinfeld. And I probably did a little bit because Jerry had a crush on me.
Oh,
I actually finished, I was hired for a special, and then Jerry called me at home and said, will you stay if we write for you? Which had never happened in the history of Seinfeld before. That was really quite flattering. And so they were very, very nice to me, but I was also really direct with them. I got onto set the first day, and everybody was rushing around me, and nobody introduced themselves, and I yelled, stop, And everybody froze, and Larry David turned around and looked at me, and I go, you are all making me nuts. You have to introduce yourself, you have to tell me what your jobs are, and you have to tell me who I have to listen to. And they all got in a line. It's a true story. They all got, and they walked up and they introduced themselves, and then Jerry walked up to me and he goes, who are you? And I go, I'm just an actress looking for simple respect, you know? So that was really my first day. And I was very direct and I was very honest with them. I want to work with a team. So I had a really great experience on Seinfeld, and then going back and then doing Curb Your Enthusiasm with Larry. He wrote that character for me. But it's a whole different vibe.
I'm sure.
Like a whole different
Yeah,
vibe.
war movie versus.
Yeah, but also remember, 4.5 hours in makeup. Right? My call times were 4 in the morning.
Oh,
4 in the morning.
so you're a morning person.
Oh, no, I am not. I probably went to bed every night at midnight. I couldn't fall asleep earlier. So remember that, 4.5 hours of makeup, and then it was 2.5 hours to get it off. Now, Mark didn't. Mark would go like this, rip it off.
Yeah.
But, you know, you do that and you're going to ruin your skin.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So there was a big difference. It was an ensemble cast, but sitcoms are so different than our dramas. I mean, with sitcoms, you go in, you have a table read, or two. And then you're on fire on set working it out together with the producers and the directors on the floor. On our drama, you're doing, you know, maybe 1.5 pages of dialogue, sometimes up to 4, but sitcoms we do in a night, right? Totally different.
Right.
Same thing with daytime. Daytime we do 60 pages of dialogue every day.
60, wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't want to be rude. Anybody else have a question? Just raise your hand, we'll have the runner come. Okay, yes. Oh, you're getting the good steps in today, look at that.
I can just speak loud as
No,
well.
we have a mic for you. There we go.
Hi.
Hi.
So with that, how long did this episode take then? How many days of shooting?
So it always
does
takes a
it-
week. An hour
Oh.
episode will take a week.
And how long are the days then with the makeup and everything combined?
Really long. You know, I'd get on set at 4 in the morning, sometimes 3:30. I might make it out of there some nights at 8. It's long. You know, one of the reasons that I actually had asked to leave the show was because of the makeup. I was having really bad reactions to it, and I was getting really bad headaches. Believe me, I loved that character. I wouldn't have wanted to leave that character. It was fun, but it's hard. And like I said, everybody had a lot of compassion for each other because you're in that makeup. I mean, you can't, you know, when you wash your hands, you only wash the palms, right? Because you can't get that makeup. You can't lay down. I had on a 22-pound wig with 100 pins in my head. You know, and you smell like latex and makeup, and you're wearing neoprene. You know, it's not like your PJs. So they're long days. They're long days, and they're meaningful days, but they're long days. Yeah.
Excellent question. So that's a lot of fun. Anyone else? Oh, we got one in the back over there. I should have been the runner. I'm on a weight loss.
Me too. I should be a runner.
Yeah.
Even though you said you had to leave because you had a reaction to the makeup, did you take anything with you as a souvenir?
Yeah, that's always a good question.
You know, did I take anything with me? I don't think I did. I don't think like a little neck piece. Or my spoon. I should have taken my spoon. No, I actually don't think I did. And you know, it's funny, I was actually down to me and Terry for Dax.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
And I was so about that character because all she did was get that little thing and then they put some spots on her neck.
Right.
Right? Like that
Yeah.
was it.
Yeah.
Not me. You know, you lay there after you're done, and you have to lay back, and they take these tiny little paintbrushes, and just bit by bit, they get under each inch of the makeup over and over and over and over and over again. And the most you can hope for is that you fall asleep.
Well, where I am, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Not enough coffee in the world. For me.
Exactly.
Next question. No.
Where are those lovely ladies that were out at the table talking about the balance of the characters?
Oh, the twins?
Oh, there they are.
There they are, yeah.
There they are.
We're putting you on the spot, so
Can you say that
Yeah,
again? 'Cause
stand
it
up.
was really lovely
Get
the
the
way you
mic.
put it. We were out at the table, and these two lovely women who are
Hi.
supportive to animals, which I love.
are you guys twins? Because I don't want to
Yes,
be.
we are.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Yeah, yeah,
See,
yeah.
my eyes still work, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, it wasn't a question, it was just a
Statement.
As a viewer, I was impressed and touched by the way your character was able to love Dukat, the father, the evil father. To us as the viewer, we watch him in his despicableness, and then Major Kira,
And then
and you
Vietnam,
love
yeah.
her, and
Yeah.
you're able to really make that real.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
bring that love to him and to her, and bridge as best as anybody could these two people.
Thank you,
And
yeah.
that was striking to me.
That was such a beautiful thing to hear, because the ability to love is at the key and at the root of that statement, right? And when I had spoken at the 50-year anniversary of Vegas for Star Trek, where I was checking out at the table where they said, oh, you're going to speak to 600 people, and then I got out and there were 6,000. I was like, I'm sorry, you forgot a zero. But the first thing I had said, because in the restaurant the night before, obviously I didn't have makeup on, not everybody knew what I looked like. And so everybody was at their tables and they had their computers, and I don't know how y'all do it. They were like, in 1973, the writer wrote that, and that's not right, because when you look at the thing in 60, whatever, and I'm like, so fascinated. And what I said how I opened when I was speaking to everybody at the 50-year was, before I go into answering questions, I said I want to share what I witnessed that night. And there's such a love in this community about the stories and the honesty and the characters and the relationships. And I had said, if everybody in the world cared about something this much and had so much fun doing it, and were so willing to bond with one another, we would have peace on earth. And I really believe that. And that character of Tora, finding a way to love, no matter what your beliefs are, no matter where you come from, no matter what you look like, finding a way to love. And I live like that. And I think Tora stood for that. And I think that's what came through on screen. And that's why that meant so much to me, because that was my intention. So thank you.
All right. Oh, we got. Yeah.
Yes.
Come on back.
Come on now.
We can play the theme song. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Hi.
Hi.
First of all, thank you for coming. This has been very exciting.
Oh, thank you for having me, and thank you for being here.
Regarding her love for Gul Dukat, there was a show on TV within the last several years. It was hosted by a woman whose father was a serial killer, and she used to contact, with permission, the families and especially the children of other serial killers. And they would all talk, and sometimes the kids knew when they were little that the dad was up to no good, and sometimes they found out after the dad was arrested. And the bottom line is, when people would come up to them and say, do you still see your dad? And they would say, yes, I go visit him in prison. They'd say, how can you do that? And they say, to you, he went out and did this, but when he was home with me, I'd sit on his lap and he'd read me the funnies, or we'd watch TV or make brownies or popcorn. He was dad to me. So I recognized that he did these things, but I had a different relationship with him. And I think that's what your character does, is she understands that he loves her.
Yeah.
And it's apart from the other things that he had to do.
You know, I talk in my book about how we're all good and we're all bad, right? Every one of us, we've all had less than stellar thoughts, and we've all had blessed thoughts, and one of the things we have to learn when we heal is to tell the truth about everybody in our lives. You know, we can make people saints as easily as you can make them sinners, right? It all depends on what case you want to build.
Right.
But when you want to grow and heal and learn to use yourself fully again, you have to tell the truth about people. And so I have people come to my practice and they'll say, you know, my father was, et cetera, and not such good stories. But then you look down the path and you go, oh, he put you through college, right? Oh, he taught you how to play chess. Yes. Oh, you went horseback riding every weekend, right? And our bodies know our truths, and that's part of the truth. So that's a good example. You know, her father, you know, Dukat was a bad guy, but he was my dad.
He loved her.
Yeah, and it's that little girl, and my mom's dead, and you know, we have a need for our family. That is a natural primitive reaction, right? And I do think that Ziyal believed she could make it better. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Do you think that they should have gone with you for Dax because you would have done the whole 7 series instead of got out of town? After the last-
Let's bring it back.
Yeah, let's bring it back to that.
It will make Dax older.
That's what I.
No, Terry did a great job. She
Oh,
was great.
she's
Yeah,
fantastic,
great job.
But, yeah.
Everybody on that show was great.
Yeah. Was there any hijinks backstage, or was it very serious? I heard there was like madness in TNG, and then they kind of like imposed rules on everyone.
Well,
Is
I
that
didn't
true?
find madness, but like I said, I think you weren't as exuberant when you were covered in all this stuff, you know. So it was sort of like you would get through your stuff, and then you'd go and you'd just kind of relax a little bit and zen out, so that you'd come back again, you know. So it wasn't, no real hijinks ensued, but yeah.
Missed opportunity.
But on Seinfeld there was.
Yeah, okay. At least there was some hijinks.
And Kurt, for sure.
Oh yeah. Larry David is. Oh, we got another question.
Yes, dear.
Your comment about how you couldn't get very exuberant and all that makeup and everything. How about eating?
Oh, it was awful.
Did you
It
do
was
eating
awful.
makeup?
You know, it was like you didn't want to get anything on your hands, right? And you really never felt like your hands were like 100% clean because it had all that goo on them. And then you had this makeup right up to your lip. So it was definitely a sticky situation. And you couldn't get anything on you, but you couldn't take the neoprene off, so you had to, you know, cover yourself. And it was not, that wasn't relaxing. And it's not like when you're on a film or when you're on a TV series that doesn't have all that makeup, where you go, oh, I'll just take my stuff off so I don't mess it up, and I'm going to go grab some lunch, and then I'll come back and put my outfit on. You couldn't do that. No, you were glued in. Glued in.
Lots of smoothies?
I think I did have smoothies, actually. I need a straw.
At least you didn't have the teeth like the brain.
No, see, they needed the dentist on set.
Yeah, there he is. All right, so I will definitely want to give everybody a chance to hang out with you, speak
Cool.
with you, get a book, get a CD, get
Great.
an autograph. You have
Yeah.
some great portraits from the show, which I love, so I'll be
Great.
joining you there. But thank you so much.
Thank you so
For
much.
hanging
and
out
thank
with
all
us.
of you for coming out.
Yeah,
This
thank
was
you
so
so
fun.
much. This was a lot
It was
of
really fun to watch that on our movie screen.
Yeah, right.
I mean, really cool.
Especially because the technology has changed from TNG to DS9, because it looked just as good as the movie technology when they were doing the space battles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was such a well-written show. Like, you're at the edge of your seat for every scene.
Yeah,
You know.
and it was funny.
Yeah.
I forgot it was funny. I forgot, like, what is the character's name? His timing is so good with the neck stuff.
Wei Yun, yeah.
It was really funny. He
Yeah.
reminded me of like an alien Rob Lowe.
Yeah.
Ah, that's what Rob would have done. Thanks, you guys.
Thank
I'll see
you.
you out there.
So I'm Joe Dove. We are having Trek Long Island this end of May, beginning of June. Armin from the show is going to be there, Ethan Phillips. And be sure to get tickets, come hang out. I'll be there, and you can catch us every Friday on Captain's Quadrant. I'm one of the co-hosts, Joe Dove. I have an Australian and a Texan, so it's a lot of weirdness going on there. So thank you again, and be sure to come by and say hi to Melanie. She'll be right in the front. Thank you, everybody.